Wingers. It's me, Mrs. Wingers, and I am back here to read another chapter or 2 or 3 of Planet Omar, Accidental Trouble Magnet. And I know how excited you are because I've been getting a lot of feedback from some of you saying that, oh, Mrs. Wingers, you only read one chapter of chapter books and then you stop and we want to listen to the whole story. So your wish is my command. We're going to read this whole story. So when I start the next chapter, like when I've taken a break for a little bit, I always go back to my notes just to kind of remind myself of the reading that I've done so far and my thinking. So I'm just going to quickly review the notes that I've taken before. I read the first 2 chapters of Omar. My reading goals were on orienting and monitoring for sense. I remember that when I was orienting, I realized that it would be from Omar's perspective. He might have troubles at his new school, including some issues with a bully named Daniel. At the end of chapter 1, I noticed that the book is making sense to me. I wrote the characters: Omar, Isa, Miriam, Mom, and Dad. Omar is a little mischievous. And then at the end of chapter 2, Omar doesn't like change, and this will probably present a problem for him. Okay, so I'm about ready to read. I have my book, of course. I have my reader's notebook so I can track my thinking. I have a pen. I have some sticky notes in case I want to make some notes directly into the book. I have my tea so I can relax and enjoy as I read. But before I get started, before I crack this book open, I need to check the fiction, the narrative reading progression so that I can choose some skills that I want to focus on today. All right, so let's do that now. So you can always find the reading progressions inside the assignment sheet. I think always. So here I need the fiction one. And when I reviewed, I realized that I did orienting and monitoring for sense last time. Probably don't want to do that again. There's orienting. Maybe I could work on some envisioning today. And maybe I should notice the story elements, time, plot, and setting, because these 2 things, story elements and envisioning, are really going to help me get a strong sense of what this story is about. And that's important to do while I'm still in the beginning of the text. So I've got the date right up here at the top, the title, the author, and my reading goals, which are envisioning, predicting, and noticing story elements. Okay, here we go. Chapter 3. The school was going to start on Monday. Only 2 more sleeps before I had to walk into a brand new classroom with everyone watching and a teacher who might or might not be an alien zombie. Saturday is always mosque day. My mom had decided that for the first few weeks after moving, we would visit a different mosque every Saturday and pray the Dhuhr to see what our new neighborhood was like. Dad normally works on Saturdays, so it was just me, Miriam, Isa, and Mom. Mom is a very smart scientist and works on all sorts of different ways of fighting cancer for the cancer research people. But sometimes Isa's cuteness makes her lose her smartness. It's like he has big, innocent, smartness-melting eyes. They don't work on me. So when Isa wanted to buy a whistle from a gas station on the way to the mosque, I knew it wasn't a good idea. But Mom went right ahead and bought it for him, saying, "Because you've been such a good boy this morning," and giving him gooey kisses on top of his head. I knew it was a gooey kiss because she actually still kisses me like that, even though I've forbidden her to do it in front of my friends. Okay, that part's hilarious. I'm going to make a quick note and just put like a little ha-ha to revisit that maybe later. In the mosque, everyone prays together with the imam leading. It's supposed to be super quiet. Just after the prayer began, Isa decided to move from his place. I was praying in between Mom and Miriam. Neither of them moved. I wasn't sure if they'd even noticed that he'd gotten up. Now, Isa is annoying sometimes, but he is my little brother, and I worry about him. So I quickly sneaked a look behind us. He was sitting at the back with a big, cheeky grin on his face. I turned back around and kept on praying. Then we went into ruku. That's when your hands are on your knees. Silence from Isa. Then we went into sujud. That's when your nose and your forehead are on the ground. And then, tweet! Okay, so I'm doing some serious envisioning here. I can totally see this prayer room, and the way that the author described where Omar is and how Isa is quietly moving, it helped me to really be in this environment. And so now I know that this tweet is going to drive that room crazy. So I'm going to make a quick note about that envisioning and how that envisioning helped me to predict. So I just wrote that on page 18, I used envisioning. I could really see the prayer room and all the characters together. This was possible because the author described it very well. The noise of a loud whistle broke through the silence, followed by Isa's voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then again, tweet! And then the counting. It wouldn't stop. I couldn't help myself. How could I? I burst out laughing right in the middle of my prayer. I put my hand over my mouth, I bit my tongue, and I even pinched myself really hard, but I couldn't help it. I didn't have to wonder if Mom had heard. People on all floors of the mosque must have heard. When the prayer finished, Mom and Miriam were a bright shade of pink. It looked as if their skin had suddenly decided to compete with Miriam's socks for pinkness. And they were looking everywhere except up at people's faces, like they usually do when they greet people after prayers. Mom was motioning angrily to Isa to come to her. Quickly, a few people came and patted Isa's head, which made Mom's skin return to a normal color. As we were leaving, an old lady with a walking stick and a brown abaya waddled over and said, "Good counting, young man." Chapter 4. Sunday passed pretty quickly because Sundays are science days. Dad calls them Science Sundays. In one of those big, booming voices, like it's the most fun you can ever have on a Sunday. Why? Because my dad is also a scientist. And I think he and my mom only had us 3 kids so that they could create more scientists or something. I actually like science, so I don't mind. We always do fun things like making slime, creating fizzy eruptions, and making things go pop. There are 4 things that pretty much seem to happen on every Science Sunday. 1, Mom wants everything done very precisely. She is obsessive about it, but pretends that she's not, because Science Sundays are supposed to be fun and not bossy. She ends up saying things like, "Just 1 millimeter more, my sweetheart," through gritted teeth, and "Are you sure you stirred that correctly, sunshine?" 2, Dad just laughs at how strict Mom gets about the preciseness, and he kisses her head and says that's why she's the best scientist in the world. And she kisses his hand and smiles like she's the luckiest woman in the world. Super yuck. 3, Miriam always drops important parts of the experiment on the floor. 4, Isa always steps on those important parts of the experiment that Miriam drops on the floor. This is because he has ants in his pants and in his shoes and everywhere, and he can't stay still ever. That Sunday, we did tornadoes in bottles, which is so cool. You should try it sometimes. You connect 2 bottles with a little pipe, and then you twirl the top bottle, which makes the water go down to the bottom bottle and sends up air, making a tornado. We set all the things up together on the kitchen table. My brain was thinking about telling Miriam to pass the bottles and pipes, but my mouth hadn't caught up with my brain yet, and it got things muddled up. So it came out as, pass the pipes. Miriam giggled. Pipes? I mean the bottles and pipes. I giggled too. But I do like pipes. I wish it was a real word. If it was a real word, then it would be normal, and you wouldn't like it anymore, said Miriam. That's so true, I said. Mom and Dad were bending over laughing in the kitchen. When we asked them what was so funny, they said that in the Arabic language, there's no P sound, so a pipe would end up being called a pipe. Then Miriam, who is showing off, Googling with her smartphone, said that actually pipes are a weird, disgusting snake lizard thing that actually looks like they're inside out. Okay, this story is getting better and better, and I'm enjoying getting to know the characters more and more. But I do want to stop and refocus on one of my goals, which was identifying the setting, the time, the setting and the time. So I'm thinking that this story is happening like in the modern day. Just the kind of a kid Omar is seems like the kind of a kid that would be living today, and the experiences he does seems really similar. And then also one thing that stuck out in my mind was his sister Miriam Googled something with a smartphone. So we know that has to be in like kind of recent times in the last 5 years or so. So I'm going to add that to my notebook. Let's see, page 28. Okay, so I made a note that on page 28, I noticed something about the time and the setting. I know this story is supposed to happen in modern times, maybe even this year. I think because Miriam Googled something on her smartphone. That could have only happened in the last 10-ish years. You also might have noticed that I originally wrote, I know this story happened in modern times, but I realized that makes it sound like it's a true story. So I changed it to, I know this story is supposed to happen in modern times because it is a fiction story. Eventually, we got on with the experiment. Oh yeah, tornado in a bottle, said Dad. Sometimes he gets really cheesy and excited. And Miriam and I look at each other and roll our eyes. But we kind of like it, really. You can put glitter or food coloring in the bottle, too, to see the tornado better, said Mom. So Miriam and Isa both reached for the glitter, and Miriam dropped the bottle on the floor, sending glitter flying EVERYWHERE. I'm going to pause that there. This is a really interesting craft technique that Zainab Mian uses. So I'm going to put it under the document camera so you can see that. Okay, so sometimes for dramatic effect, an author will spell out a word so that the reader reads it letter by letter, right? So in this sentence, where am I? So Miriam and Isa both reached for the glitter, and Miriam dropped the bottle on the floor, sending glitter flying everywhere. But because it has these dashes, you actually read it like this. EVERYWHERE, right? So like spelling out the letters. It's a really cool technique to add a lot of drama to your writing. So this might be something that you want to add. I'm actually going to put a sticky note on this just to kind of point out that it's a cool craft technique. Page 29. Right on schedule, said Dad with a peal of laughter. Mom hugged Miriam and kissed her, also giggling uncontrollably. I could see that Miriam wasn't taking it so well. Ugh, she shrugged. She shrugged Mom off and stomped toward the stairs. Science is so lame anyway. She does the extra grumpy things like that a lot at the moment. Although it's not like she's always grumpy. Sometimes she's nice, Miriam, too. It's weird. Dad says it's teenage hormones. Whoa. Okay, so I've just turned the page to chapter 5, and I'm noticing a lot of cool things on this page. But I think I'm going to have to pause this for today because our read aloud video is getting a little bit long. But I've also noticed something that this author does is really, really hooks me into wanting to read more, right? I was ready to be done. Okay, end of chapter 4, close the book for another day. And then I turned the page and I was like, oh, I want to keep reading. So that's another great author technique that Zaina Mian does. Okay, so that's all of the reading I'm going to do for today. I'm just going to write a sentence or two about what I'm thinking just to kind of close up my independent reading time. All right, so I've just written that at the end of chapter 4, whoa, I am loving, but I put a heart and an ing. I am loving this book. There are so many interesting details and craft techniques. I'm also really enjoying getting to know the characters more and more. Omar is so funny. Okay, so I know this video is getting pretty long and I won't keep you for much longer. I just want to wrap up this read aloud by saying that we will continue this. The next video I'm going to make is chapters 5 and 6 probably, and I will just keep reading. I think this is such a great story and I can't wait to track Omar throughout this whole story to see how maybe he changes or other funny things that happen to him. I have had a few requests also for some read aloud, so I will try to get to those as soon as possible. But for the next few weeks, we'll be sticking with Omar. Okay? Have a great time in your own independent reading today. Try some of these techniques that I have been practicing and you've been seeing me use. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.